What's going on, Jerome's? So I know people are still bumming. Happens, but it's a beautiful Friday. Sun still came up, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. He sees you when you're pooping. That's right. So try to have some chuckles here. All right. So the Vikings, the last couple games, maybe not so much, right? And everyone's going to focus on the end of the game. Face mask gate is fully on. It's going to fill the airwaves of sports talk radio and TV shows and stuff like that. But bottom line, the Vikings just didn't play well enough. But you can hold two thoughts in your mind at the same time. Like we can walk and chew gum. The Vikings didn't play well enough to win, and the refs completely jobbed the Vikings in numerous ways, right? And it's fine. So LASIK.com, better vision, better calls. I love it. Which I should probably think about getting LASIK. More context. I'm basically blind as a bat. My prescription is -4.25. It's not good. It's not good, man. And also, this was amazing. So Kurt Benkert, he's fantastic in terms of analysis of football and quarterback stuff, but he is a dyed-in-the-wool Packers homer. Of course, former Packers backup legend, right? And you know that it's bad when Kurt Benkert is siding with the Vikings. So after the face mask, which effectively ended the game, he said this: should be 1st and 10 Vikings, a minute 30 left with a chance to tie it up. Instead, it's 10-point loss. Insanity. Not to mention 2 touchdown drives for the Rams kept alive by weak calls. Nailed it. This one may actually change the entire course of the NFL season. And you do have to play better than the ref's ref, but 2 of those touchdowns were just gifts where the Vikings had them stopped cold, and then the drive just magically continues, right? And I know a lot of people have said, like, hey, well, the Vikings, if they call the face mask, it'd be 1st and 10 with a minute 30 from the 20. And I think Kevin Seifert, ESPN, who's not Carl Gerbschmidt, put out something like, well, it's still a low percentage shot for the Vikings to march down and get a touchdown at 2-point conversion. That's not the point. The point is that the Vikings had an opportunity to make this a ball game and knot it up and send it to overtime, but it was taken away, right? Were the Vikings going to win the game if the face mask is called correctly? Who knows? But did they lose because it was not called? Yes. That ended the game right there. And also, remember, Sam Darnold, when he was with the Panthers, led a 96-yard touchdown drive and hit a 2-point conversion to force overtime against the Zimmer defense. All right. But that was the KJ walk-off in overtime game. It was really good, man. And also, Kevin O'Connell, his tone of the press conference, he was just no excuses, but also I'm just here so I don't get fined. Vikes fan page. Vikes head coach Kevin O'Connell said there's no excuse on the officiating tonight and had no comment on the face mask. And he said no excuse as in no excuses from his team. As opposed to no excuse for bad officiating, which for us to see comfort in that officiating is not how we are going to respond to this. It's just not going to happen. And frankly, his answer is better than if he just pissed and moaned about the officiating, where, I mean, he's obviously taking the high road, but it's a good stance to have, right? And we say it ad nauseum. You have to play better than the ref's ref, and there's a good chance that you're going to get jobbed a time or two. It just happens to the Vikings all the time, right? But bottom line, the Vikings, especially the defense, didn't show up offensively after the first 2 drives. They had disappeared. And, yeah, did they have a shot at the end? Sure. Did the refs take that away? Yes, but doesn't matter. No factor. Major factor in the game was Christian Darrisaw. Left right before the half with a knee injury, got rolled up on. And I know a lot of people talk about, like, well, they're just running out the clock. Why did Darrisaw get injured on a play that didn't matter? Well, yes and no. So the Vikings had all 3 of their timeouts, and if Jones had ripped off a nice chunk play, then you call timeout, and then all of a sudden you're marching, maybe set up for a field goal, right? But and it's going to happen on any play, so I'm not blaming Kevin O'Connell. What was he supposed to do? Put in Quisenberry for the run? No. But update, Gessling. Kevin O'Connell said Christian Darrisaw had a left knee injury. He'll be evaluated further tomorrow, keeping our fingers crossed that we get some positive news, he said. Now, there's rumors and innuendo and scuttlebutt, which, that and $5 will get you a cup of coffee nowadays, but it's possible that Darrisaw escaped a major injury. which would be great. And now with the Vikings having 10 days until the Colts Sunday night game, that'd be huge. And Darrisaw, can make a good case that Darrisaw is the Vikings' second most important offensive player. Not just pass protection, which you saw take a step back. Even though Quisenberry's fine as a veteran swing backup, he's not Darrisaw. Right? And also the run game. Like there's a reason why a lot of the Vikings' explosive runs have come on the left side of the offensive line behind Darrisaw and Brandel. Like in the run game, they've looked really good. And Dr. Jesse Morse, who's sort of renowned on the old Twitter machine as one of the fantasy football doctors. Now, obviously, everything has to be taken with a grain of salt because he's not. He's not taking a look at Darrisaw in person. But in terms of professional opinion, shooting from the hip, I mean. But take everything with a grain of salt. This is what it said. Christian Darrisaw left MCL sprain. That's not his diagnosis. That's a possibility. If this is a mild grade 1, he might be able to return with a brace. If there is any meniscus involvement, which happens with grade 2s, he could miss 3 to 4 weeks. Usually the ACL is not compromised in the type of injury. Grade 3 does not look good. I don't know, man. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. Like we said, the Vikings do have 10 days until the Colts game, and say Darrisaw potentially could miss some time. Hopefully it's not season ending. Maybe he goes on short-term IR and returns later on the season for the stretch run. Just sort of is what it is. And again, I don't blame Kevin O'Connell for the play call or whatever. Like you understand that it was still part of the thing. It could happen on any snap. All right, but the Vikings. Quisenberry, like we said, is a solid veteran backup, and he can fill in fine. Also, I think that Walter Rouse could potentially fill a role. He was drafted likely to become the future swing tackle, and maybe replace Brian O'Neill someday. Although Brian O'Neill's playing out of his gourd, so maybe Brian O'Neill's going to play till he's 40. He's going to go all Jason Peters on the bit, which would kind of be great. But, yeah, like you just kind of the last 2 games in the last 5 days, you just kind of want to scream into abyss. It was a near run thing against the Lions until they gave it away now, and then there was just a no call, no show against the Rams for the most part. And also, history has been made in those 2 games over the 5 days. Purple Persuasion, last week was the first time the Vikings lost under Kevin O'Connell when they were even in the turnover battle. This week was the first time the Vikings lost under Kevin O'Connell when they won the turnover battle. So now, I think he was 22-0. When they were even or they won the turnover battle, and now they're 22-2, which football is funny and football is very stupid sometimes, right? But yeah, the whole thing about keep hope alive, yes. Because speaking of the Rams, when Kevin O'Connell and the 2021 Rams won the Super Bowl, there was a stretch in the middle of the season where they lost 3 games in a row. All right, now, ideally, not going to lose 3 games in a row, but things can get dark, but luckily, you don't have to be undefeated to win the Super Bowl, and there's still a ton of talent in this room. And it's not like they played the Little Sisters of the Poor in the first 5 games, so we'll just go from there. But something that they have to get fixed is defensive pressures, right? And it was so maddening because eventually against the Lions, they got after Goof a little bit in the second half, but they didn't touch Matthew Stafford at all. And Stafford is an assassin, and if you give him time, he will pick you apart. Like any quarterback with 2 brain cells to rub together, like they will pick you apart if no one's getting pressure on them. Kevin Seifert, ESPN, who's not Garg Schmidt. Vikings pressure Matthew Stafford on only 3 of his 34 dropbacks. That's 9% pressure rate. Was the lowest in the game since 2020 per ESPN research. Hiya. Oh, who's the head coach of 2020? But it's ridiculous. Now, you could say that Flores should be working more on rotation because those 2 games in 5 days, especially that tough game against the Lions, you can make a very good case that the Vikings were gassed on defense, especially the pass rush. Grenard went to the medical tent a couple of times. Was it cramps or dehydration? Don't know, but yeah, the fact that the Vikings rotated very little in the front 7, I mean, it's just guys had dead legs. And even though the Rams had that patchwork offensive line, they look like the greatest offensive line of all time. They look like the Hogs from Washington from back in the day. It's just, it doesn't matter who's back under center. Like, it could be Matthew Stafford. It could be Jared Goff. It could be Anthony Richardson next week. If you're not getting pressure, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day, man. And Jefferson, feeling the frustration. right? And I miss the beginning of the game where we're just like, oh, look at Jefferson's red shoes and red gloves that he wore on the first drive, and then he changed, so he didn't get fined. But then the game just really got away. Yeah, and it's just massively frustrating, especially offensively, how the Vikings can consistently get out to the fast start. And Kevin O'Connell's scripted plays work like magic, and the Vikings, get that double-digit lead before the other team scores. And they've done it in all of their last 6 games. The Giants one notwithstanding, but I mean, fast starts doesn't mean fast finishes. And then there's the inevitable lull in the middle of the game, and you have to question, is it Kevin O'Connell play calling off script? Like, can he adjust to game flow? And I don't know. But it was good to see Jefferson get that action boss early in the game, but couldn't maintain it. And then no one else stepped up. Like, where's Addison? Where's Naylor when he's not dropping touchdowns? Hockenson, we need you back, man. And also, defensively, the Vikings gotten run on the last 2 games, and as well as they gotten picked apart in the middle of the defense, and it's not a coincidence that those are the 2 games that Blake Cashman's missed. So 10 days, we need that toe right. Got to get back out there 5-1. Absolutely need you. Also, Hockenson, again, I fully understand the Vikings' medical stance. Get the players to 100% and make sure there isn't a setback, but at a certain point, we got to go, right? And with the season slipping away, and especially since one of the main drawbacks of this offense is that Darnold and Kevin O'Connell are consistently taking deep shots, and they're not hitting checkdowns underneath. They're not attacking the middle of the field, and that's where TJ Hockenson lives. So, Hockenson, I love you, buddy. Same thing with Reisner. You got to get on the field. You got to be 100%. You got to be on the field because not to be dramatic or hyperbolic, and it's only week 9. Momentum is a real thing, and the Vikings definitely got to switch things up. And getting back to as close to his full strength as possible, we got to go. So Cashman, Hockenson, Reisner, got to go, baby. Lastly, Will Raggett's had some great thoughts I just want to share with you guys. Pride of Sports Illustrated. He's the only one who's not an AI bot. No, Will's awesome. Some late nights Vikings thoughts. It's understandable if it feels like the sky is falling right now from 5-0 to 5-2, and 5 days is rough. And Darrisaw's injury is a major concern. The defense has disappeared over the last 2 games. The offense hasn't been consistent enough. Penalties remain an issue. 17 penalties in the last 2 games. Sloppy. The optimistic view is that the Lions and the Rams have very good offenses when LA is at full strength, which they were. Not saying they played games of the injury report, but basically they listed Puka Nacua DNP dead on Wednesday, but defensive approach, self-inflicted wounds, etc. But Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are very good coaches. I still confidently believe that. He continued. The schedule opens up now with 3 straight against the AFC South, followed by the Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, and Bears. The Vikings might add Blake Cashman, Hockenson, Reisner to the lineup next time they play. Help could also potentially be added via trade, though I don't think the team should do anything crazy and move next year's first rounder. I disagree. F it. F them picks. I mean, you already have McCarthy. You already got Diamond Dallas Turner. You already have your rookie class. You have all the cap space in the world, so you could supplement the rooster that way. Come on. The standard was raised so when they started 5-0 and beat 3 good teams, so those losses are obviously frustrating. But how would you have felt before the season if someone told you the Vikings would be 5-2 after 7 weeks? Which, understandable, but also still pissed because the target moved. And we're not going back to lowered expectations. That's right. And also, we've seen how damn good this team could be in all phases except for punting. Well, except for punt coverage. Actually, no. Now that Sherfield's in, we're good to go. Yeah. Bottom line, there are flaws to address, but I still think the 2024 Vikings have the pieces to be a playoff team with a chance to make a run. There are 10 games left in the regular season for their story to be written. As tough as this stretch has been, it's far too early to give up hope. Keep hope alive. That's right. No, Will is absolutely 100% on. And again, I understand the frustration. I understand the wanting to cry in the breast milk, but can't do it. So 5-2, who would have knew? And it's been a frustrating week where the Vikings had several opportunities to beat the Lions, put them away. Didn't happen. Second quarter got away. Second quarter against the Rams also got away, right? And Rams game is infinitely more frustrating than the Lions game. It really is. Now we got 10 days just to be miserable and literally crying to the breast milk, right? But trade deadline's coming up the Tuesday after Sunday Night Football against the Colts, and all we have to do is dream. So Dexter Lawrence, I don't think he's going to move. Quinnen Williams, maybe. If the Jets lose to the Patriots, maybe. I don't know. And Jeffrey Simmons, it does seem like the Titans are having a fire sale, but don't know if Simmons will be on the move. But J.C. Horn, can we get a little something? Hey, first round pick for J.C. Horn, Adam Thielen, and a sixth. We'll do that. I wish that Derek Brown was healthy, but he's not. Yeah. Anyways, that's it. Your thoughts are thoughts. It's kind of bumming today, but have a smile. Have a Coke and a smile. Feel just a smidge better about things. We'll go with that. But let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section. You guys know what to do. Skull production value.